So as some of you will know, I recently made the switch from gas to induction cooking in my canopy setup, and today we're going to run through how my experience has been so far, in particular with using this Dune four-wheel drive induction cooktop. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Spotlight Sunday episode where we take a closer look at four-wheel drive or camping related products to see if they're right for your needs. And in this episode, we're checking out my Dune four-wheel drive induction cooktop, which I've owned for just over a year, but have been regularly using for the past 6 months. During our recent trip through the Kimberley, I used this thing every single day for breakfast, lunch and dinner for about a month, aside from about 2 or 3 days at the end of the trip because we were running low on battery power. I used it every day on my trip across to Melbourne for the four-wheel drive show, throughout the Victorian high country while I was doing a bit of camping that way, back across to WA and on a bunch of weekender camping trips as well. So I reckon I know it pretty well after all that use, and as always with these Spotlight Sunday episodes, we're going to be covering what I like about this induction cooktop, but also the things I'm not that keen on too, to give you guys a fair analysis. Alrighty, let's get started. Alrighty, so this is the Dune four-wheel drive induction cooktop from Anaconda, and as far as induction cooktops go, this is definitely one of the better value ones on the market, coming in at under $100. It's capable of being turned all the way up to 2,000 watts, but to be honest, I never really use it that high unless I'm trying to boil water, and fortunately for us, there's a bunch of other options as well, all the way down to 300 watts. Now, it's important to note, because this can be a little bit confusing, but those wattages aren't the same as power consumption. So setting this to 2,000 watts isn't going to draw 2,000 watts, and setting it to 300 watts won't draw 300 watts. From my experience, pretty much every setting from 300 up to about 1,000 draws roughly 1,300 watts, and the unit will just cycle on and off depending on what temperature you've selected. So if you choose 300 watts, for example, it might be on for 3 seconds and then off for 9 seconds. Settings between 1,000 watt and 2,000 watt use a little bit more power, up to 1,600 watts at times, and the same principle applies with it toggling on and off. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how that affects your cooking experience, because in a perfect world, you'd have that nice consistent heat at whatever temperature you set, just like you do with gas, for example. And getting that consistent heat delivery from induction is one of the main reasons I see people buying cookers that are easily 3 or 4 times the price of this one. But for me personally, after cooking bacon and eggs, pastas, chicken, rissoles, sausages, steak, and a bunch of other things, I can honestly say that for me, it's never been an issue. Sure, if you're a chef or you've got a cooking background, that might be a bit of a deal breaker for you, or it might drive you crazy, but honestly, for the average person like myself, I doubt it will be an issue. To fire it up, it's literally so easy. We just plug it into our inverter in the canopy here, chuck on our pot or our pan, and hit the on button on top. From here, we just hit the mode button to start cooking, and we can then toggle the temperature up and down using the up and the down buttons on the top there. There's also a bunch of presets for different types of food like barbecue, fry, hot pot, soup, water, and also milk, but to be honest, I've never used any of those. It also comes with this little padded storage bag, which I've honestly found super handy, because I just chuck it in there like that. It then fits perfectly next to my fridge for nice and easy access, and I just keep it in place with a bit of Velcro hooked through the loop at the top. To be honest, it's probably not the kindest way to store this, because it does tend to like bounce around and bang on the canopy floor every time I go over bumps. But you know what, so far so good, and I reckon that's a pretty good testament to the overall durability. Okay, so as with everything, there's some things I like about this induction cooker and also some things I'm not that keen on. So we're gonna run through everything, starting with a list of things I like, and I thought I might kick this list off with the biggest advantage of them all to induction cooking, in my mind at least, which is that these are not affected by wind at all, which of course makes sense being an induction cooker, but until you've actually experienced this for yourself out camping, you won't know how incredible this is. In the past couple of months, I've been camping on the very windy Bundah Cliffs in South Australia, camping throughout the Victorian high country during weather so bad they were literally closing down roads around me, and the whole time I was able to cook up dinner without a second thought. Honestly, it's crazy, and I genuinely reckon that induction cooking is worth it just for that benefit. Number 2 is how quick and easy this is to get out, set up and start cooking, not only because it's so compact and also I can store it within easy reach, but also because I don't have to also set up a gas bottle somewhere nearby as well, or even bring one along at all for that matter. I literally just get this out of its bag, plug it in, and I'm good to go. Number 3 is also sort of related to gas, or rather the lack of gas, I suppose you'd call it, and that's that induction cooking effectively allows you to replenish your cooking fuel source, which is your battery capacity while you're driving along or while you're parked up using solar panels. And I reckon that's going to come in particularly useful for Bianca and I next year as we do a lap around Australia, because we're not going to have to worry about where we're getting our next gas bottle refill from. Number 4 is something I've mentioned in previous videos, and that's that this gets incredibly hot incredibly quickly, which is something you need to get used to coming from a gas burner where you'd light your stove, pop your pan on and give it a few moments to heat up. With this, you're ready to go straight away. That heat is absolutely instant and it gets a lot hotter than any gas stove. I mentioned earlier that I rarely use this thing on max power, and I'm not kidding. I honestly use this thing on mostly 500 or sometimes 800 watts. And finally, this is literally just a flat piece of glass. So if you like your camping gear to be nice and clean like I do, you can give these a bit of a wipe down with a cloth or a grime wipe and they literally look as good as new. So mine's been pretty heavily used over the past 6 months and I reckon that still looks pretty damn good. Moving on to my dislikes, and this is going to be more about induction cooking in general because honestly, I was up late last night trying to brainstorm things I didn't like about this particular induction cooker. And there's just not that many things, aside from the fact you do have to kind of make sure your pan is dead centered on that induction hob, because it can turn itself off if that pot or pan gets a little bit off center. But it's also a safety feature, so I struggle to list that as a dislike. But talking about induction cooking in general, I do have a couple of dislikes. There's a significant financial cost involved in building a setup capable of running an induction cooker. We're talking a couple hundred amp hours of lithium at minimum. My battery's 400 amp hours, for example. A 2000 watt inverter to run this single induction cooktop, more if you're wanting to run a twin induction cooker. And of course, the price to get someone to install that all if you're not too DIY friendly. With that in mind, if you already have a decent 12 volt / 240 volt setup, I would definitely say induction cooking is definitely worth it. But if you don't, I probably wouldn't spend the money just to get induction cooking. And finally, if your induction cooker breaks for some reason, you're not going to be able to pull it apart to fix it like you can with a traditional gas stove. Now, you could argue there's one less thing to go wrong with no gas jets that can get clogged up or whatnot. But when it comes down to it, if you're in the middle of nowhere with a broken stove, a gas stove is going to be easier to repair. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video, but before I sign off, I want to extend a very special thank you to the channel's latest Explorer tier Patreon member, Joe Lettieri, who I had the pleasure of meeting at the Melbourne 4-Wheel Drive show, and I really hope I pronounced your name correctly. Please let me know if I haven't. I honestly can't overstate how much your support really means to me and the channel. It's because of people like you I'm able to be out here doing what I absolutely love, so thank you so much, and I hope you continue to enjoy the videos. If you guys have any questions at all about this Dune 4-Wheel Drive induction cooker or about induction cooking in general, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.